Things are going terribly wrong for Chelsea Football Club, the players, the manager, the sporting directors, and the ownership. Yes, behind the scenes, you might hear stories of how the directors are happy with how they've invested in this Chelsea squad, with how they feel they've got value in long-term assets, in this young talent that they've acquired. And even if there is truth to that, everything else seems to be crumbling around them. And yes, even if there is a behind closed doors table or metric that the club is going by, where Chelsea sit in 5th place in the Premier League for the expected goals for and against table, it's nice to hear sometimes, right? But I think, though I personally love statistics and metrics, you know me, Jan the stat man and all that, there is something called the eye test and the general feel and the sort of psychological, perhaps unquantifiable state of play with Chelsea. We're going to talk about that today, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, Chelsea dropped points yet again to out-of-form Brentford yesterday in the Premier League. And I didn't talk about the chants. I did a complete breakdown, my previous upload to this. You're welcome to go watch it. I didn't talk about the F off Maurizio chants and, of course, chanting for Jose Mourinho. I will address that in today's video. I will also address Mykhailo Mudryk and perhaps him constantly being benched. I think that's an interesting talking point. I'm going to use a couple of things on Twitter here when I talk to you. Yeah, and I also want to speak about some stats, to bring it back to stats. And no, this isn't me thinking, oh, guys, it's all okay. Actually, I want to see how these players are doing. Because in the midst of these disappointing results, I want to use X value and have a look at, because managers come and go, and as every week comes along, it does feel like Pochettino's time is limited at Chelsea. So let's look at what we actually have, the players. So I did want to talk about some statistics there as well. So hopefully it's going to be an enjoyable video. I want to thank you for joining me. If you want to support the content, you're welcome to. Simply like and subscribe. That's a good way to support me. If you do choose to subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell so you get notified when I upload. Alright then, let's talk a little bit about firstly, the Jose Mourinho chants from the away fans. Now, I don't want to speak for what has been simply amazing Chelsea away support. I think they have been so patient. They've supported the team really well, and I've said that multiple times here on the channel. But and this isn't just the fan. I think the fans sing Jose Mourinho because it's like a rep. The same way they sing Roman Abramovich. They're not actually saying, oh, bring Roman Abramovich back, because it's not going to happen. And I think it's a similar thing with Mourinho. Mark Goldbridge, the Manchester United content creator, of course, the host of the United Stand, tweeted this: amazed that Chelsea fans were singing for Jose yesterday. 1. That team is full of young players who need developing. Jose doesn't do that. 2. There's no money to spend on proven players. Jose needs that. 3. Chelsea fans aren't happy with the style of play. Jose won't solve that. And to be honest, I was like, louder! I love Jose Mourinho. I think he's one of the best characters in football history, and he's such an integral figure in our success, but he is not the solution. But I'd like to say that I do think the fans sing his name as a representation of discontent. It was a declaration of discontent, like saying that we used to have this team and this, that, and the other, and you can kind of say that in just by singing a chant that you know well in Jose Mourinho or Roman Abramovich. Again, I don't want to speak for fans, everyone has their opinions, but that's what I imagine. It's more of like a representation rather than a demand for a specific figure. Because again, the Chelsea fans, have been incredibly patient, in the stadiums, and even though social media is a bit of a madhouse, I'd say on social media as well, there was a lot of patience, but that patience has weared thin. Now, I'm going to show you a tweet here. Let's have a look. This is from CFCPYS on X, formerly known as Twitter, and he's speaking about Mykhailo Mudryk. So Mudryk under Pochettino, goal, he scored against Fulham, and he was benched the next game against Burnley. He scored against Arsenal, and apparently he corrected himself here, but it was the next game against Brentford, not Spurs, but he was benched. He scored against Newcastle, benched the next game. Scored against Crystal Palace, benched the next game against Luton. And of course, he scored against Leeds in the Cup, and he was benched in the game yesterday against Brentford. Delayed transition there. Now, I think it's important to note, I think a lot of those situations he maybe have scored off the bench, and maybe it's a fitness thing. Let's be fair. Maybe he's not fit to start a game, so the bench is him. He'll feature in the next game, but maybe not starting. I do maintain. We'll look at the player stats in just a moment. I do maintain my same position where I think he's such an amazing talent, Mudryk, but I do think he's massively undercoached. And people who are upset with Pochettino, I think that Twitter account owner is upset with Pochettino as well, understandably. Would be like, all right, we'll coach him then, It was not very long ago, journalists and content creators like myself were reporting on the story of, Pochettino's taken a keen interest in Mykhailo Mudryk. He's putting an arm around him, a lot of one-to-one work. And we're thinking, great, We've seen like flashes of excitement in the first 6 months of his Chelsea tenure, Mudryk that is, but we need someone to coach it out of them. And then you think, well, Pochettino, notoriously good with young players, supposedly, and of course, look what he did with a left-sided transitional forward like Heung-min Son. So you'd think, yeah, that sounds good to me, bro. That sounds excellent, and of course, we just haven't seen it. So frustrating. Of course, Pochettino was asked about the chant in his post-match press conference, which I've not actually spoken about yet. So he was asked about his relationship with the Chelsea fans, and he was like, yes, I understand it, like, they're upset, and I don't expect to have a relationship with them. I have to prove it and build it with them. Very, I guess, yeah, what else is he going to say? I think he's actually smart in how he didn't immediately, like, go over to the Chelsea away fans when we won the odd game and be like, yeah, Chelsea, like, tapping the badge, because it would have seemed fake. I think probably in his head, he was thinking, right, let's win a few games. Maybe you'd imagine had we beat Liverpool last weekend, a week ago to the day, I believe it was, had we beaten them, you imagine he would have gone over to the Chelsea side with the trophy and like sort of said, this is, whatever. It's funny, like, I have massive problems with this Chelsea project at the moment where we are, and indeed the manager, but narrative-wise, had Conor Gallagher just put away one of those 3 chances he had in the final and say we see out defensively and win against Liverpool, right? Because that game was there for us to win. It was very, very disappointing. Say we win that, just everything's different, isn't it? I mean, people might still have problems, but then the story is like from like just Gallagher hitting it slightly harder with his foot. Something so minuscule as that, just trickling down into like out into a web of stories and mood and everything. Everything would have been different, rightly or wrongly. But it was interesting to hear him say and talk about that and say, look, he mentioned how it was his birthday as well. Like, come on, bro, you're not going to get birthday points here. Anyway, let's talk about the team and how they've been performing generally and the players as well. Because I think in this turbulent time where the manager is going to be evaluated in the summer, whether we get changed or not. And by the way, like, I might say this at this point, there's a really great video on The Athletic from the Tifo boys about Chelsea, and this was released before the draw yesterday of Brentford. When will Chelsea be good again? And there was is his name Alex, the Euro expert, the content creator, the sort of an analyst, young guy. He did a section on Ruben Amorim, who of course is a heavily linked coach to Chelsea and indeed other big clubs because he's doing great with Sporting, saying, look, would this guy do well at Chelsea? And essentially, apparently he echoed concerns about why he thinks Pochettino wouldn't fit at Chelsea. So he's since gained like credibility in many ways, and he pretty much said the same thing about Ruben Amorim. He said they're massively overperforming on their XG in terms of goal scoring this season. And they're relying on people running really, really like untenably hot, as well as they leave their midfield really, really exposed, but they get away with it in that league, in that scenario, in that moment. And he says, look, this does not apply to Chelsea. Chelsea's biggest problems at the moment is the midfield being exposed. And if Ruben Amorim brings his current football to Chelsea, it will be massively problematic. It wouldn't work. And he's not just saying, because we look at this guy, look, I used to be more of an analyst and a stats guy than I am now. But, you look at Amorim, oh, look, top of the league, got this many goals. Great, great, great. But this guy's looked at the football and actually, no, it simply won't work with Chelsea. And he's got a really expensive release. I think he's got the most expensive release clause with any of these managers that are being touted at the moment. So that's That's some sad news for a few of you who are thinking come the summer, Ruben Amorim's going to come in and save Chelsea. Doesn't look like it. So the managers are the managers. Well, that's up to the team to start again and try and pitch another project for the 4 millionth time to a new coach. But let's talk about the assets we have and the players and look at some stats here, shall we? All right, so I'm using X-Value, really good platform, .ai for looking at Chelsea comparatively. Now, I just want to look at the team overview quickly, as you can see here on the left-hand side. The grey graph is the Premier League average, and the blue graph is Chelsea. So Chelsea have a lot more possession than other Premier League average. We average 59.6%. It's about just under 50% for the average in the Premier League. Field tilt. Now, I believe that is like when you've got field tilt, it's attacking momentum, essentially. Chelsea are higher than the average. That's no surprise. Interestingly, we take less shots than the Premier League average, which is a massive talking point. And I'll tell you, because if you look at how Liverpool play, their amount of shots they take is profound. Like they're first in the league and second is Man City, and Man City are quite like a little way off them as well. Their Klopp's tactics are very, very hard and high octane, but this season is just take a massive volume of shots. That's why you constantly see Nunez missing like 9 shots, but they still win 3-0. Do you know what I mean? They just take their volume of shots is incredible. I'd like to see Chelsea take way more shots. The fact how we're under Premier League average is nothing short of embarrassing. We managed to just score more than the Premier League average, but we should, as Chelsea, should score much more. Interestingly, we take way less crosses. Now, this could be a stylistic thing, right? So we want to keep the ball on the deck and play, through balls like Enzo Fernandez and people like that. But to be honest, and maybe we feel like, we don't have, I know Jackson scored a couple of headers lately, but maybe we think we just don't have the people in the box. But we should take more crosses because we've got people like Malo Gusto. And in theory, Chilwell, he can cross a ball, who's in a good form at the moment. Fitness. Not form. I'd say Gusto's in amazing form. And actually, we've seen Gusto play a little bit of left back. If Reece James is going to return in not too long, there might be a discussion for, putting Reece at right back and maybe Gusto at left back for a little bit and making Gusto do, cut in on his right foot and do like inverted crosses maybe. Understandably, we don't take anywhere near as many long balls because we're a possession side, and shots conceded, we are about Premier League average, which is about embarrassing, really. So, not very good at all, guys. But I want to look at players here as well because I find this interesting. Now, let's see if I can fit this in. So, let me just move this down a little bit here. I'm going to... All right, here we go. So, yes, this is the Chelsea team, and it shows you who's top for top, right? Who's top for these metrics. Goals, and by the way, you're going to see a lot of, London's young footballer of the year, Cole Palmer here. For goals, you have Palmer with 10, Nico Jackson with 8, and then Sterling underneath. Expected goals is Nico Jackson with nearly 12, and therefore he's got 8, of course, so he's underperforming his XG by nearly 4 goals, which is disappointing. But the fact how he puts himself in a position to score those goals still is good. He still, of course, is top for non-penalty goals because Cole Palmer has a few pens to his name, which makes sense. Now let's look at assists. Cole Palmer top for assists. Gusto and Gallagher underneath. Sterling is still there, but again, he's Sterling. You'll see Sterling a little bit here, but he's kind of benefiting off earlier season form. But this is profound how we're trusting a 21-year-old to carry us in everything here. You can already see it, guys. Assists, expected assists. So he's actually got he's overperforming on his expected assists. Probably getting a little bit lucky there with good finishing, actually. Open play, expected assists. So that's not like free kicks or corners or whatever. So it's the same. Now, expected threat, he's basically saying who's the best player. Is Cole Palmer. There is Raheem Sterling as well, but we all know Raheem Sterling can ruin his expected threats with expected failure. Boom! What a line! Expected threats from passes. Again, Cole Palmer. And then from carries, it's Sterling. Sterling is a good dribbler. He does dribble well, but nowhere near enough for 300k a week player. what's expected OVA, offensive value added? Okay, interesting that Nico Jackson is top of that. And to be honest, I don't want to see anyone giving Nico Jackson heat. Yes, he's missing chances. Yes, he's messing up. But he's also amongst it. You know, he's also just up there. He's got to calm down in these moments where he messes up. You're at Chelsea. You've got to, you know, more often than not put those away. And at the moment, he's more often not doing that. But he's still getting amongst it. I'm going to sort of die on this hill that Nico Jackson was a good value buy. That's versatile and can help you out as a sort. He can be like a good Michy Batshuayi, a good Loic Remy. Do you know what I mean? Like this young player that you didn't spend that much on, but he's a rotational player. We got to hold ourselves to that standard as well. Shots on target, he's up there. And of course, shooting goals added. I don't know what that means. Increase probability. Just another positive one. So this is interesting. 1-2s opened Malagusto. He's not just about getting down the wing and crossing or tracking back and defending well. He's good at combining, as is Cole Palmer. Counter-pressing actions. This will shock absolutely no one that Conor Gallagher is the top. He's joint top with Caicedo, actually, of a pressing metric. Shots, again, there's our boy Cole Palmer. Chances created, interestingly, he's Palmer's second, but he's one behind Conor Gallagher. So Conor Gallagher, he's got a few assists. Maybe he should have some more. And then Raheem Sterling is 10 behind them. So he's joint with Fernandes. I think Fernandes is getting better with creating chances, but Chelsea need better. Absolutely need better. I don't know what SPR is for this. I think it might just be a general value metric. And then, of course, touches in the box. Sterling probably takes too many touches in the box. Probably should just shoot. But yeah, wow, this is crazy. He's got 164 touches, Raheem Sterling. And that is, nearly 60 more than Jackson's second, which is crazy. Unsurprisingly, Cole Palmer's there for through balls. And yeah, unsurprisingly, Enzo second. That's the kind of players they are. Also, unsurprisingly, as a dribbler, Sterling. Now, we haven't seen any Mudryk here. Of course, he hasn't been given that much chance to do it, but he has played some matches, so it's interesting to see he hasn't, he's not on any of these metrics. Unsurprisingly, Disassi, who's played the most minutes for Chelsea, he's got the most passes, most crosses, unsurprisingly at all. Gusto, it's interesting to see Sterling's got 10. He usually opts to dribble in. Reece James is still in the top 3 despite being injured all the time. And then interceptions, again, a hard-working, sort of pressing and tackling player in Conor Gallagher. He is top of interceptions by some way. Aerials 1, Disassi, makes sense. Interesting to see Cesare Casadei in there from the few minutes he's played. What's he got? Offensive aerial rating. Basically, I think it's just a rating of how well he's done in the air. Actually, and I think this is the reason why we brought Casadei back. He is really good in the air. He's a midfielder. He can score and assist and press, but he's really, really good in the air. You don't have that from any of our midfielders. Gallagher, Enzo, or Caicedo. So you bring him in for that. I do think it's a little bit unfair because he's cup tied, so he can't even play against Leicester. The team he was on loan at, of course, our next tie in the FA Cup, and we're just not using him at all, so I do feel bad. And then, of course, you've got like Thiago Silva with a couple here. Tackles 1 for, again, nothing. Doesn't really shock me. Saves made. Sanchez has got more than Petrovic. That's down to minutes. But goals prevented. I think this is per 90. Either way, Petrovic is above Sanchez already. So, yeah, pretty much. And here you go, finally, for discipline. We've had red cards with Gusto, Gallagher, and James. And then, a silly amount of yellow cards. Jackson way out front with 9. And Palmer's got a couple of needless ones recently to go up to 7. So it's interesting. I do like to look at this kind of stuff. It's interesting to see that, it's just all Cole Palmer and Jackson. And these are like really young players in their early 20s in terms of our attack. And yes, Palmer has got ice running through his veins, and this is why he's been recognized as such an effective player. Jackson hasn't. He's a sort of like run hot, run cold player, but that's it. That's our attack. Do you know what I mean? No wonder we've underperformed so much in expected goals and stuff, because that's it, bro. You've got Noni Madueke and Mudryk that might come in. These young talents score the goal, but I said in my complete breakdown yesterday, like Johan Visser, what we'd do with a senior player with the confidence to just do an overhead kick like that to win your team a point. Ultimately, you know, we're so far away from that, and that is the third choice striker for Brentford. All these young potential talents, I think it does just come down to just getting some senior big boys up there that have just played the game for a while, that feel comfortable in English football, and they're like, yeah, just, you know, let me do it, you know? It's rough, man. Anyway, I hope you guys found it interesting. I certainly found it interesting, but I wanted to cover a lot of stuff in this video. The Pochettino, Mourinho shouts, the stats and everything. So hopefully you dug it and you found it interesting. Let me know if you did. Thank you for liking and subscribing to Football Therapy. And I hope to see you guys back here very soon. Peace.